Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is the Global Reality Radio Network. Edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us tonight, Wednesday night edition into Thursday, February 16, 2012. Glad you could join us here tonight. We'll be getting into a whole big pile of news, as we always do. And we will also be reading from Zachariah Sitchin's The End of Days. Yes, the end of days. The end of days are upon us, aren't they now? That's what they tell us, right? We're here in 2012, yes.
The end of days, motherfucker. Yeah, that's right.
So here we are. But we're going to continue reading from that as well. My website where this broadcast originates from is theglobalreality.com. It's www.theglobalreality.com. That's where you'll find all the things that pertain to my work up there. Films, past radio shows, audiobooks, video clips, all kinds of stuff up there. Theglobalreality.com. That's my website. Go check it out, spread it around, tell people that's where they go and come and check out the vibe and what we got going on here and what I'm doing here with the work that we're trying to do here in on the show. Jesus Christ. And yes, there is the chat room always wants to make sure that when I'm the chat room always wants to make sure that when I'm telling you what to check out on our website, that, you know, I'm saying to check out the documentaries, check out the archives, and check out the video clips. Well, they also want to make sure that I always let you know to check out the chat room where the crazy people hang out. So right about the time I'm saying those things, they like to say some fucked up shit in the chat room. It's usually like, for the longest time, it was like right when I'd go on air, somebody would inevitably drop a dick pic of Lars Ulrich and his micro penis in the chat room, and it'd fucking make me spit up every time I was going on air. Somebody under the name of David, well, I guess it's David, but it just says D. I'm supposing this is a play on the researcher David Wilcox, but it says David and D. Wilcox. Show us your moobs. I don't really have, I mean, you know, I could have a little bit of that's not too bad. You know, I don't have, I've seen much worse on dudes, you know, not as big as me, but yeah. Now, if you want to see skin, it's going to be, you're going to have to pay like everybody else, dude. It's going to be $5.95 a minute. And, we'd appreciate it if you'd use PayPal and use the chip and banner or the donate button, please. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'll show you my tits, but you're going to have to pay. That's just all there is to it. I mean, we got to have money to operate around here, and I will resort to showing my man boobs if I have to. I mean, you know, but you're going to have to pay. It's not free. I want to make that clear. Make that crystal clear for you. Yeah, I'll show them, but hey, you know, I'm a working girl like everybody else. I got to make money around here, so you're going to have to pay for that. Anyway, thanks for being with us here tonight. Lest I forget to ever bring up the goddamn dungeon chat room there. Wow. That's another thing you can check out on my website, theglobalreality.com. Go there and find all the craziness. All my documentaries are up there. You can buy my newest documentary film on Blu-ray or DVD by SR2. It's under that tab, and there's all sorts of packages in there where you can find those various things and coordinations and configurations to buy the newest documentary film that I've made. It's not all out there and for free on the web quite yet. So the only way you can see the whole film is to get the DVD or the Blu-ray. So please do that. If you haven't done it, if you have already, well, thank you so much. So continue to tell people about the film and the information, the stuff we're trying to do here. Continuing on with my research and my work into the rock wall stuff, and have been coming up with new leads and new pieces of information, and talked about that the other night. And still continuing to do that. I for the longest time had talked to various people about about the wall and stuff, and people had said that they had known locations, or, oh yeah, my friend said she saw, knows a place where it's sticking out of the ground. And I found what's interesting is that by going back over the research of John Lindsay and some of the other stuff that's been out there, I've found that there's a lot of what's been excavated. Is actually not even the wall itself. In fact, these are basically these outcroppings and stuff that have been located, and I've located about 6 of them, a couple of which I know where they are. I'm going to go try to find those since I have some cash to get out there and go do it. But there is these outcroppings are actually not parts of the wall itself. They're actually things that are within the perimeter of the wall structure. And from what I looked at on the map, from John Lindsay's map, I mean, the place where it shows where he did his excavation at wasn't even actually part of the wall. It was a structure or something else inside of the wall structure itself proper. So I find it fascinating that that whatever this was, and from the people who've looked at it, it served multiple functions over different periods, and different people inhabiting the area over different periods used it for different purposes. And it was built, way back in antiquity. And it was used, for various different purposes and added on to, and there were cities built in the structures of this. Well, I think a lot of what's been excavated, because I found something very interesting from, it was this picture, and I don't think I have it anywhere uploaded where I could drop it in the chat room for you. I'll try to do that at some point, but you're going to see all this later when I get a film out or something about it. But I just found this picture that was just very interesting to me. I'd never seen it before, and it was a picture from this City of Rockwall dig that they did in 1976. Where they had school kids, come down and like on a field trip and go out and, here's a part of the town where you're going to school, where you're growing up, where you live. Here's this ancient wall that's been found. And there's a picture of this old man digging this out, and there are these huge, giant, flat stones that looked like they were just so big and they were so flat that they looked like they had been, smoothed down with something. You know how crystals and rocks look after you polish them and use a Dremel on them or something like that, and they look real polished. Any stone, how you go from being rough to being cut. Well, these look like they look like these big, long, flat stones, and they were stacked, like 2 of them stacked on top of each other. And that looked radically different than what is seen in the video from the Quivira project dig that John Lindsay did, of which there's video at the very end of the Secret Ride Volume 2. That video is also up on YouTube. But the blocks and the stones in the John Lindsay video, I mean, they kind of, they do kind of look like, it just looks like mud bricks. But then you go to the Rockwall Courthouse, and they've got these big giant stones out there with pieces that came from a wall dig that they did. They've got, big giant pieces of quartz crystal and stuff. Well, I didn't see any of that kind of stuff in the video of the stuff that Lindsay excavated, it looked more like a sandstone dike. So I'm starting to think that maybe what John Lindsay had done, I don't know this for a fact. I don't know. I don't think that what he dug up was actually the part of the wall. And according to his map, it's not a part of the actual wall. It's like something that's within the perimeter of the wall. So while he indeed did dig up something that pertains to it, some of the other evidence I'm looking now at now shows a whole different story than that. Especially when you look at, again, the rocks that were in front of the old Rockwall courthouse to this day is they're not representatory of those same blocks. Let me give you an example here. I've got a picture. Now, this is, I wanted to have this in the film, The Secret Volume 2, and I didn't get it in there for whatever reason. I don't know if I couldn't find the picture. I think that's what it was. I think I couldn't find the picture at the time. But I mentioned in there in The Secret Volume 2, if you haven't seen it, I don't mean to spoil it for you, but at some point I've got to talk about this stuff and can't really wait for everybody who hadn't seen the film yet. But I talked about this, these 2.5 ton garnet stones that were found near the site and that had these hieroglyphs and stuff on them. And one of which used to be in the old Rockwall courthouse, but some of the inmates saw Congressman Ralph Hall and some other guys hauling this thing out in the middle of the night. Supposedly Congressman Ralph Hall still has this thing in his house. But I did find a picture of that. And there's a link. It didn't allow it to pop up in the chat room, but there's a link there. You just click on the link. And that's the picture. The inscriptions appear dark because they put dirt in it so it would appear. So they just put dirt in there. But yeah, those are those etchings there have only been found in 2 other places. A pre-Semitic language that they found in Yemen and at Seco Canyon in Utah, where they also have depictions of these antenna people, extraterrestrial things on the cave walls there. So yeah, that's highly interesting stuff there. But so this the second picture that I'm dropping in the chat room is of a dig that they did, I think, in the 1940s or 50s or something like that. And that looks very similar to what John Lindsay excavated, but also different. Those actually look like big rocks and big stones. In the John Lindsay video, they look more like mud or sandstone. So I think what's going on here is that, with some of this part of this wall, some of the more ancient parts of this wall, we're seeing much older dates and much different types of stone and building. And then within perimeters of it, where we have later additions, that is, additions that were made by people later on to the already existing structure, we have the possibility here, and what I believe to be not just one significant type of archaeological discovery here. We have multiples. The evidence supports the fact that there are multiples here, because the wall itself is worth looking into, just strictly the fact of the rocks themselves, not anywhere indigenous to this area at all. The geopolymer crystals, which has already been analyzed in a lab, the mortar that holds them together being made with geopolymers, multiple different types of crystals being put together. That can't happen by accident. And the fact that within some of these other things that have been found, these outcroppings and whatnot, all these things occur within the wall structure and the big hills. Because this is what they call this area in North Texas where I live, folks. They call this the Black Land Prairie, because it's flat black land. Dark black, gooey mud, shit, black dirt, flat. They call it the black land. It's flat land out here. There's no mountains. There's no hills. That's why about 200 miles south of here, between here and, Austin. They call that the hill country. You know why they call that the hill country down there? Because there aren't any other hills for a good portion of the place in Texas. You start going farther out west, it's flat, even flatter. It's nothing but fucking desert. So in Rockwall, we've got, the Rockwall, old Rockwall courthouse sits, and you can verify this on Google Earth, it sits at something like 592 feet above sea level. And it's the highest above sea level point in the entire North Texas area. So that tells us two things. Well, according to John Lindsay, where old Rockwall Courthouse is there's a massive temple room underneath that, according to him. And what's interesting, when I was there, there's a sign pointing to it. There's actually a nuclear fallout shelter in the bottom of this thing. There's no way for me to get in there. We're going to let me in there and just go check it out. But I'm wondering if this fallout shelter that's built into this old Rockwall courthouse, which again sits at 592 feet above sea level, and it also sits smack dab in the middle of the golden ratio triangle, Pythagorean theorem square in the right triangle. It sits perfectly atop where the eye would be in a pyramid on the all-seeing eye. That's exactly, when you put the map overlay on it that I've made, that's exactly where the Rockwall courthouse appears. Now tell me that's coincidence. Tell me that's a natural occurrence. Not only did the people who built the ancient structure have advanced knowledge, but that means that in the late 1800s, early 1900s, whatever it was, when they erected the old Rockwall courthouse, and it's kind of funny too, because it looks like a Masonic lodge. It looks like that's what I always thought it was. It used to be the courthouse and the jail. It's a little bitty building, but there weren't that many people in the world back then, and it was a small town. So, it was this little bitty building, but supposedly it's built on top of this massive temple room. And supposedly back in the 20s or 30s, some guys went down in there in some caverns and made their way in there, and they found two giant stone marble slabs, two marble pillars, is what they said. And they described, this was all in the Rockwall paper, and they described these pillars as shining like something from the Orient. Now, these black pillars have been referenced in everything from Manly B. Hall to Atlantean writings. They're always, it's the two pillars, Jachin and Boaz. And supposedly something happened, and these guys had to get the hell out of there really quickly. There was another report of them finding the den of a giant somewhere around that area where the Rockwall courthouse is. They found big shoes and a bed to scale of a giant. So fucking Gulliver's Travels, literally. So what my evidence is starting to point in the direction of, and I've seen none of the other research. Well, there's not a lot of people really researching this Rockwall stuff, and I'm starting to find a lot of real shady things. I'll be honest with you, of all the people I've met on this stuff, I'll take their information and I'll interview them, put them on tape and everything else. But I'll tell you what, just like anything else, I don't trust them. I don't trust anybody. But some of these guys I've met, one of the guys in particular I've met, I don't trust. Wouldn't trust him as far as I can throw him, and I'll be 100% completely honest with you. Open transparency. Me and other people that I was with at the time when we met with this guy, we didn't get the impression this guy was human. And he was being a real debunker, about the origins of who built this. And his contention was that it was all, that 100%, it's absolutely was built by humans. But, where they got the knowledge of this, we don't know. But it was just a lot of horse shit. My point is that we now have evidence of multiple anomalies. Especially with the information pertaining to the paleomagnetic survey and this evidence that Dr. Wolf Goss from the University of Texas won't allow publish until after he's dead, which pertains to either, something that scared the shit out of him pertaining continental drift, or something that scared the shit out of him pertaining to pole reversals, as in pole shifts. one or two of those things. So that's part of my goal, is to be able to get something excavated enough to where we can get a paleomagnetic survey done on our own independently, which I've already been looking into doing, and I have friends that are going to college and stuff that can. Well, I've got one friend that's in college that said we can get anything we need analyzed, anything in labs, which is usually out of the reach of somebody, a filmmaker like me. I got a buddy that's going to college that said that he's going to have access to labs for like the next year or so. Samples, anything like that we need analyzed, which normally would be, like I said, almost impossible for somebody like me. What we're going to be able to do. That's. So that's why when the other night when I was talking about people say, oh, I'm so sorry to hear the film's not on. Well, just because I don't have the money doesn't mean it's not on. I'm going to keep going as if it's on and just hope and pray that somebody comes along, believes in this, and wants to back it. That's really what I'm looking for. But there's definitely more than enough here to warrant the film, more than enough here to warrant another dig. But like I said, I'm planning on taking this thing to a national stage. I'm planning on taking this thing to a world stage. I hate to have to say it like this, but if you want in on this, you better get in, because I don't know. There's gonna be a lot of people wishing they would have probably supported me in my work in this, so they could have a say, or not have a say, but have a have their name attached to it somehow. Because I'm gonna blow this big. That's just all there is to it. It's just, there's too much here, and there's too many multiple things here. Just like I said, finding evidence from looking at evidence from these multiple digs in multiple different locations, you had different things found at different locations depending upon where these digs were taking place. And while you find a lot of similar stuff, you also find things that appear to be additions. In fact, some of these wall areas actually had what John Lindsay described as windows, cut out windows. My question is, I never got an answer out of John Lindsay. If I get a chance to interview him again, hopefully I will. I'll ask him this. My question is, because his story is that he found out about the rock wall when he was working for NASA on like the Jupiter 12 mission or Jupiter 11 mission or something, one of the Jupiter projects. And NASA asked him to look at some Landsat images of the rock wall. Think about this. This would have been in what, the 70s? Something like that? So if it's true what people say, that there's those rumors that they found all this ancient hidden alien technology there in Rockwall, and they found all these hidden things, and that's why they rushed building the lake and covered it up, and Kennedy was actually coming to Dallas to reveal all that and all this extraterrestrial stuff, and that's why they blew him away. It's oh man, I forgot what I was about to say. Oh man, what was I going to say? I can't even remember now. I lost my train of thought. It was something about technology. Can't exactly remember what it was. But regardless of that, yeah, there's definitely evidence that somebody was working with sophisticated tools, iron smelting. I mean, you've got these multiple different types of materials being brought together, like the iron wheel that was found embedded into the wall that was made of copper, aluminum, iron, and this thing dated at over 5,000 years old, 5,500 years old or something like that. I don't know who was smelting iron way back then, but it's God, I can't even remember what I had a brain drain of what I was going to say. What was it? I hate when it happens. Anyway, moving on, I guess. If it's important, I'll remember it later. No, it's just fascinating. Again, the variations that we start to see in the research and how a lot of this research has been intentionally obfuscated and everybody's not saying everything, all the information that they have. You know what I mean? People are being quiet and secretive about it. And, anytime you see something like that, that's a pretty clear indicator where you need to be pointing, when there's that much secrecy surrounding something. I'm just curious. I'm still banking on, I think that, enough time may have passed for some people, Some people that know things may be willing to talk at this point. Let's see what else we have here. Here's an email. Josh, I've been listening to you since 2008. 2008, really? Wow. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's a long time. You're an inspiration to me, and I love your show. I want to tell you about my thoughts on what I believe now to be the return of Christ. After listening to a lot of people such as yourself and researching on my own, I read the Bible through different eyes, and I want to know your thoughts on the return of Christ being the return of the Sun, S-U-N. After watching an amazing video of a Valentine's Day aurora, I saw how the sun ignored our magnetic pole and protective layer and poured onto the earth. I've always replaced the sun, S-U-N, with the sun, S-O-N, so it does fit, and perhaps this will be our enlightenment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Much love, Ben. Okay, Ben. So what you're saying is you want my opinion on this idea that Christ or the return of Christ is somehow could be symbolic of the sun and its effects and its changing effects and how that would affect not only our consciousness and how we see things, but also possibly our entire dimensional makeup, with shifting of the DNA, 12-strand DNA activation and, becoming light beings and existing in another dimension and stuff like that. And that's really what these ancient teachings are about. It very well could be, it's one idea. It's one of the ideas out there. I think it's certainly backed up by a lot of the esoteric texts and ancient society, secret society texts and stuff of that nature. But I think also it could be talking about, I think oftentimes we always associate with our sun, and I think in some of the cases, when you supplant not just, sun, S-O-N, with sun, S-U-N, but also think of the ideas of the S-U-N as a star, and then look at, the idea of it, okay, well, not just being our sun, our star, but, for example, Sirius. And when you look at, Egyptian things where you see what they're telling you is the sun and they're venerating that, think of that as Sirius. And could it be that, these alignments or these galactic alignments that occur that we're going through right now here in 2012 are times when these alignments cause, stardust and these particles to line up in such a way that they bombard the earth, and then that in turn changes our DNA and changes changes everything in our consciousness. And that symbolically, that's what what they're saying in these ancient texts about Christ and return. It very well could be, Ben. I think there's a lot of information there to support that, and it's one of those things where I don't think you could ever truly find the answer to, but so what? You know what I mean? Not me, not you, not anybody, I think, will ever be able to find the answer to that question, if that's really what's going on. But so what doesn't mean it's not a worthy pursuit. The point of the journey isn't to arrive. That's not the point. The point of the journey is not just to get there. The point of the journey is all the things that you experience in between. So yeah, I would say that for me, if that was something, if I was going to take on something like that, Ben, as a belief system, then for me, this is just me and the way that I work. I'm not saying you have to do this, but if I was in your position and I was going to take that as my belief system, I would spend a real good portion of my time looking at for information and information and stuff like that, and research that would back up and reinforce that belief system, or disprove it one way or the other. And as you know, as soon as you start to do that kind of thing, you start to find either synchronicities of the negative kind that you may go, okay, this is horse bucking. Time to jump off this boat and move on to something else. Or, on the flip side, you start to see synchronicities that occur in such a positive way that absolutely that you're on the right track, and that's what you're supposed to be doing. That's what the whole experience of making films and doing radio and stuff for the past 5 years has done with me. It's just been, one big crazy synchronicity all over the place for the positive. So, but yeah, great stuff there, Ben. I appreciate you listening since 2008, man. Thanks for hanging on with me and hanging in there. I appreciate that. Good email. This one from Rob says, Hi, Josh. Your ability and willingness to change while you learn and explore is rare. Very few can be so open-minded and not get stuck on whatever they are into. The humor is also indicative of that. Have you ever come to know about Bob Dobbs? Interesting character he is. Here is his site. Nope, never heard of him. Yeah, I just, I really don't listen to a whole lot of stuff. Listen to Lee Rogers every now and again. I listen to Red Ice Radio every now and again, but other than that, I really don't listen to any talk radio. It's not to say there aren't probably good hosts out there and whatnot. I just don't enjoy it. I just don't enjoy the format anymore. I don't enjoy listening to it anymore. I love doing it, but I just don't enjoy listening to it anymore because I either hear a bunch of crap or I hear a bunch of snake oil salesmen, really. And even if you do find some good stuff every now and again, you're going to have to sit through snake oil commercials, even if the person that you're listening to is not a snake oil salesman himself. Boy, there are one of the few things in the world I hate more than the puppet masters that run the whole game is snake oil salesman. Ugh. That's why I could never be on any of those fucking networks ever again, man. It just makes me feel greasy. Ryan says, do you have any good YouTube links or anything else depicting or telling how the special ops jacked all the artifacts from the museum in Baghdad? There's news articles going back to 2002, dude, all over the internet. Covered while it was happening. I mean, there's BBC footage of it. It's in one of Everard's films, Illuminati 4 or something like that. I don't remember. You probably buy it from the news agencies or something. There's video clips. Go and type Iraq National Museum looting, special forces. There's footage of them busting open the vaults, and when they get inside of the vaults, there's all these gin bottles in there. And the reason they were stored in this vault, and there were some going back to the times of Assyria and Babylon in there, folks, literally, is because the jinn, you can do some research on the jinn. They're like, demonic entities. That's what our cartoon character of genies, and genies in the bottle, that's where that comes from. And who knows what they did with all those. They probably let all those goddamn evil demonic entities out of the bottle. That's probably what's happened to our planet since 2002. But, that's just one of those things you have to research on your own, Brian. I mean, there's, believe me, dude, there's video and there's news articles going all the way back to 2002 all over the internet about that. If you just do a little digging, do a little Google searching on your own, and you'll find it, buddy. Let's see what else. Hey, Josh, you're right. The guy that gave the Queen Lizard the brown-eyed wink definitely deserves a medal. That's fucking hilarious. Oh, the pressed ham? Yeah. Talked about that the other night. That was a good one. Righty. I guess that's all we have for emails. GlobalRealityShow@gmail.com is my email address. It's GlobalRealityShow@gmail.com. GlobalRealityShow@gmail.com. That's where you send emails, love mail, hate mail, all the rest of that stuff. That's where it is. GlobalRealityShow@gmail.com. I had talked about several months ago that we were going to see some vote chicanery going on to attempt to rile up the constituency of Ron Paul and the truthers and the patriots into, where we got to have this armed conflict because they robbed Ron Paul, blah, blah, blah. And of course, he was expected to win Maine very easily. He lost to Mitt Romney. And yes, indeed, as I was looking today at some of the truther and patriot websites, they are all a flurry and all a buzz with news story after rookie written news story, with all of their hard evidence of why Ron Paul was cheated. And, just as I predicted, they're going to be using this as their major issue. This is all coming to a head. And to me, it's just become very entertaining to sit back and watch because, to be honest with you, the ball is in everybody else's court at this point. I've been up here for almost 5 years screaming and yelling about this, and nobody wanted to listen to me for a long time, and people are finally starting to listen to me, but for the most part, people don't want to listen to me, and they don't want to listen to what I'm saying about this. And so I am not going to lose any sleep over this, and nor do I at this point, because I've done my part. You know what I mean? I did my part. I tried to warn you. I tried to tell you this stuff was coming, and you didn't want to listen. So I'm content to sit back and just watch it all burn and watch it all play out at this point, because it's going to. But, I just think it's hilarious. They robbed Ron Paul. Republicans are pressuring their party's leaders for a recount of Mitt Romney's narrow victory over Ron Paul in Maine's closely watched Republican caucuses. And some say it may be time to get rid of Maine's quirky process for selecting presidential candidates and switch to conventional primary elections with voting booths and counting machines. Yeah, you mean like, bring it up to date into the modern day? I mean, why can't we talk about this? Nobody ever talks about this either. Even the way that we vote itself is fucked up. And I don't know about you, but I think that you know what I mean? The way that we vote, meaning everybody, it's a secret ballot, right? You go in and supposedly nobody but you and the good Lord knows who you're voting for in there, right? Unless you tell somebody. If you don't tell somebody, supposedly nobody knows. And so, that's always allowed people to, vote for whoever they wanted to vote for. And then, tell their husband or their wife or whoever else, oh, yeah, I voted the same as you. I voted for Dukakis, honey, of course, whatever. Right? But see, I think that this is what has allowed the complete hijacking and the complete facade of any kind of free choice of elected individuals. Because, even if you had 20 million people go and vote for Ron Paul, those 20 million people have no way to verify that, 19,999,000 other people besides them voted for Ron Paul. There's no way for them to independently verify that. So when they come out with the election results, they can say it's whatever votes and whatever numbers they want for whoever. There's no way to tell because nobody really actually knows who really voted for who and in what numbers. But everybody who votes, and I don't have a dog in this race because I've never registered to vote, never have, never will. I knew this was fucking fraud from the time I was 18 and old enough to start voting. But they never seem to be able to address the issue of the fact that when nobody really knows who voted for you, you can say whoever you want. I mean, what would the only solution to that would be, every single vote that's cast being, somehow out in the open. On a verifiable tally and everything else. I mean, you'd have to do that with computers and stuff, but I mean, that would be the only way you'd be able to have that. So this idea that in the state of Maine, they still have some archaic system. They don't have modern conventional, voting boxes and all this stuff. And it's like, how can you honestly think that this is a system that's fair or a system that's real and that the people's votes really count for something on these, in these phony elections when there's not even any consistency in how the votes are tallied from state to state? The whole thing is a big bullshit illusion. And so people get so baffled and boggled by the terminology and the lawyer speak and all this other stuff that they can't even see through to the pure cold fact that the whole thing is a fraud and the winners are decided and the losers are decided as well long before a vote is ever even cast. I just, again, it is... If nobody knows who voted for who, and it's a secret ballot and the ballots are kept, they will always have the power to say whoever they want got the most votes. That's what the Ron Paul people can't wrap their minds around. They can't understand why we give him more money than any other candidate. He wins every single poll and straw poll, and he wins all the polls after the debates, and everybody always says he wins the debates and he has the biggest amount of supporters. But those same supporters are not at the ballot boxes. We don't know what's going on. Horse shit. Oh, they're cheating him. They're cheating. Bullshit. You putzes are continuing to say to these people, yeah, well, we love this corrupt system of voting. We think it's just fine. We just prefer we have Ron Paul in there, though. No, the whole system's flawed. You have to do away with the whole thing before you can even try to think about how you fix things for the people as a whole. They got us running on this goddamn hamster wheel thinking that their system is okay. It's just the people that run it aren't. No, that's horseshit. The whole system is flawed. You got to tear this thing down from the top down and start all over, or you're going to have no chance, and things are going to continue as they are right now forever. Just in a different form, in a different way, with different packaging and different faces doing it. But that's the whole point, just to get us on this endless hamster wheel so we can never even see what a possibility, even if we don't have any way to ever enact any of these possibilities, like tearing the whole thing down from the bottom and starting all over again. Even though we may never have the ability to ever do that, it still doesn't mean that we shouldn't talk about it. and at least state on the record that that would be the only solution. It just seems that most people are not willing to even have that conversation or even bring that up. You know, these people will have you believe that, oh, America's good and America's just fine and the Constitution's good and it's for you and it's set up for you and this land is your land and my land and it was made for you and me, but we just got to get these damn people in there that are running it. That's the problem. America ain't the problem. No, the whole system, whether you're in America or England or anything else, the whole system that has us as indentured servants to it is the problem. And the only way that comes down is that the people that are running it and making it happen at the highest levels come down. And I don't have a solution for that. But it doesn't mean I'm not going to talk about it. Oh, man, yeah. Everybody's asking me about Dave Mustaine. Oh, I think it's hilarious, to be honest with you. I mean, I told you 6-7 months ago about Mustaine. Hey, look, here's my thing. Here's one thing you got to know about me. If I disliked all the people's art, and by art, I mean music, films, whatever. If I disliked all the people's art whose art I like, because of their political beliefs or stance or whatever, I would have nothing to listen to or watch or anything else ever. Most of these people are dumb, talking mouth twits. You know, a lot of them are great musicians and great actors and great filmmakers and everything else, but they're just dumb ass repeaters, mouthpiece for the powers that be. So, you know, if you hear me play if you hear me play somebody's music and you know that person is, you know, a New World Order piece of shit or whatever, yeah, there's no need to come in my chat room and tell me and drop links. I'm aware. I stay up on these people. You know, I happen to like Megadeth's music, but Dave Mustaine is a fucking terror. He's a fucking turd, dude. He's a Zionist piece of shit. And I read you an article about 6 or 7 months ago on this show that I found where he was talking about he went to Israel with a special military pass, and his direct quote was, quote, I got to go to Israel with a special military pass, quote, I got to see all the things the goy don't get to see. Now that's in the story right there. And these, you know, these Jewish scholars and all this stuff can sit there all day long, and I don't get into all the Jew stuff, but you know, it is there. Sometimes it does have to be talked about, not just ignored, but you know, these Jewish scholars and stuff can sit here and tell me all day that when they call somebody a goy, it's not a racist slur. It is a racial slur. It's the equivalent of calling it's like the white version of the N-word, essentially, is what it is. That's what they call us. And only Zionist pieces of shit use that phrase to refer to people, the goy. And so when I saw that thing with Dave Mustaine say, you know, calling people goy, I was like, oh man, he just made it very apparent. But of course, you know, you look at his he's already showed his hypocrisy with his album covers. You know, he wouldn't allow certain death metal bands and stuff to go on tour with them because of their satanic imagery or whatever. But yet Slayer is just fine with him, I guess. Slayer has the most pentagrams per capita of any band on the face of the fucking planet. Everything has a pentagram or a devil or something on it. Don't get me wrong, I like Slayer, but you know, I never understood that. You know, he'll still go on tour with Slayer though. It's like Slayer's okay. These guys per capita have been putting more satanic imagery on their albums longer and more widely than anybody. And then you look at, you know, Dave's albums and like Endgame, and inside of there he's wearing a double-headed eagle shirt. And I'm going, you don't want satanic imagery? You realize you're wearing a double-headed eagle shirt, right? You got a vortex on your album cover with a G in it. It's like a Masonic G with a Stargate, which in his own words, he said that was a Stargate on that album cover. I was like, come on, dude. You know, you go on tour with Slayer and you say you don't want satanic imagery, but yet, you know, he actually said a cult is what he said. Well, double-headed eagle has been one of the longest standing occult and bloodline symbols that there is. Goes all the way back to the demigods of the Anunnaki and et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, yeah, if you hadn't heard, I'll read for you what Mustaine said. Just goes and proves what a piece of work he is. He says, earlier in the election, I was completely oblivious as to who Rick Santorum was. But when the dude went home to be with his daughter when she was sick, that was very commendable. Also, just watching how he hasn't gotten into these horrible, horrible attack ads like Mitt Romney done against Newt Gingrich, and then the volume at which Newt has gone back at Romney. I think Santorum has some presidential qualities, and I'm hoping that if it does come down to it, we'll see a Republican in the White House and that it's Rick Santorum. And he also said that Ron Paul is like insecticide. And he's 98% inert gas, and the other 2% kills you. And that Ron Paul said that America is like the Taliban. And I'm not like the Taliban, Mr. Paul. And I just thought that's fucking hilarious because, Alex Jones has had him on. He's shot videos of him at a Megadeth concert, and supposedly they're big buds. And, here he is. But that's the whole thing. I mean, that's classic. I mean, I would say, just from that behavior alone, Dave Mustaine had definitely he didn't to me before, but I would say now he definitely fits the bill to me as somebody who might be a Council for National Policy member. Absolutely. Only because of that, going on the Jones show and Jones making a video with him where he's interviewing him and all this stuff. And coming on Jones show and acting like he's, all this stuff. And then the next thing you know, he's saying something bad about Ron Paul. And then that causes a division. And I'll be honest with you, Megadeth is coming to Dallas March 1st, and I wanted to go because it's Gigantor and stuff. And I wanted to go to the concert, and I refused to go to that concert because of the set list that they're playing. Because they're of the 3 songs, new songs they're playing off their newest album, 13, they're playing the 3 shittiest songs off the entire album. None of the songs that address New World Order issues and that kind of thing, they're not playing any of those in the set list. And I thought that was kind of pussy, to be honest with you. To put out a record where the majority of the songs and even the best songs are addressing these issues. But because it's a campaign year and going out and having songs like, some of the songs on the new album that he's got, which, like We the People and stuff like that, and then coming out and backing Santorum, I mean, those two things really wouldn't go together. Santorum probably wouldn't appreciate, I don't know, he might, with all his CMP connections, but I don't think he would appreciate, people who are, because like they try to do to Ron Paul. Oh, then, you support the 9/11 truthers, well, 9/11 truthers listen to Megadeth. So, I don't know. I even before this Santorum thing, I was already like, you know what, man? That just the idea of making a record that addresses that many issues, but not having the balls enough to even play one song. 3 of the songs they're playing, I've seen the set list from the tour so far. That's how I know this. And all the rest of the stuff they're playing is just safe, old shit. Not even some of the even better old shit, but that's not even the point. The point of the matter is that, to me, it's pointless to say something. You can say something on a record all day long. To be honest with you, contrary to popular belief, record labels, they don't give 2 shits of a motherfucker what you say on a record. You can say that the owner of the record label is a kike, Jew, pillow-biting, motherfucking, dog, asshole-licking, donkey-fucking motherfucker all day long on a record. Tell him you sodomized his dead grandmother in his living room while he was away on vacation. He won't. They don't care. So long as you're selling records, so long as you're moving units, you can say whatever the fuck you want to say. They don't care. So this idea that, you can't sing those songs or that because we won't get mainstream attention. Horseshit. No. That's I see the same kind of behavior out of Dave Mustaine that I see out of Ron Paul. The same exact. You know what I mean? Like, when you're over here hanging out with the 9/11 truthers or whatever, you're on the Alex Jones show, oh yeah, you're all about the truth movement, or you're all about this, and yeah, I'm a part of it. But when you're placating to some other audience, then you hang those people out to dry in favor of supporting some other camp. And Ron Paul does that consistently. That to me is the key element of why Ron Paul can't be trusted, because he sells out the people he shakes hands with 10 minutes after he shakes hands with them. And that's what a politician does. That's their job. And to place any importance on what Ron Paul or these other politicians do past that is, it's dangerous business. Certainly not any business any one of us should have our hands in. That's for damn sure. We got a lot more news to get into tonight. Thanks so much for being with us and staying up late. We are going to take a break, come back, and get into more news and information for you here tonight. We'll also be reading from Zechariah Sitchin's End of Days. So we hope. All right, back here with you on the Global Reality, right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being here with us tonight for another late night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. Lots more show for you here tonight. We've got a lot more news to get into and more reading as well from Zechariah Sitchin's The End of Days. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. We have the stream bill is coming up due. It's actually due, today, so overdue. So we've got to get some cash in here, a couple $100 or something this week to get the stream bill paid. And we need help to do that. We maintain our entire operation here off of the support of our listening audience. Shipping banner is there, and that amount represents what we need to pay the bills for the month. So please help us out there. TheGlobalReality.com, chip and banner, and the donate button is there if you want to help out with films or become an associate producer or whatever else. You can make donations there at the website for that also. Let's get back into our news here tonight. This is, I mentioned the Whitney Houston thing the other night, and of course, this is no surprise. It was surprising to me to see this talked about here in mainstream news. It says Whitney Houston's album sales surge. Who benefits from her death? Well, that's a good question, isn't it? Because, of course, just as we always see, a dead rock star is who passed their prime, who's not selling anymore, is always worth more. And it's just surprising to me that finally they're talking about this. Now, you've heard me say that on this show forever. If you've been listening for a long time, you heard me say that exact analogy there. But listen to this. I can't believe that this article matches that analogy that I've been making for years about this. It says fans of Whitney Houston open their wallets to express their sadness over the 48-year-old's sudden death last Saturday at the Beverly Hills Hilton. Whitney, the Greatest Hits album, sold 64,000 copies in just 24 hours after the news of Houston's death became viral. And more than 101,000 Houston albums have been purchased in the past week. Of the 101,000 albums sold, 91,000 were downloads. That record surpasses Houston's combined album sales of 97,000 for 2011 and 2012. So she sold more records in the past week. Now listen, here's what's interesting. Because she didn't write any of those songs, that none of that money is going to go to Whitney Houston or the Whitney Houston estate or whatever else. All that money is going to go to the songwriters. I would, if I were anybody looking at this case in an investigative manner, and it's not really one I'm tackling. I'll leave that to other people. Some people I know are already all over this, but I've talked about it and covered it because it is there. It is real. But if I was any kind of investigator looking into this, I would absolutely be looking into all the songwriters that wrote all of Whitney Houston's greatest hits. That's what I'd be going and looking at. Who are those people? That's my. I haven't looked into it. I don't know. Maybe somebody that I've heard of. Maybe I should go look that up later. But I would absolutely be looking. Again, key bona, who benefits, and in this case, it's the songwriters. Zach O'Malley Greenberg, a staff writer at Forbes magazine, says Houston stands to gain potentially tens of millions of dollars from artist royalties. In an interview with Jeff Mack on the Daily Ticker, O'Malley Greenberg explains that because Houston does not have writing credits, For any of her songs, she will not share in the publishing royalties, therefore limiting the amount of money her estate can reap over the years. I mean, this is exactly what I've been telling you folks. It's the songwriters and the record labels. They're the people that own the rights of these songs. And if their catalog is not selling anymore, or potentially could sell more if that person was dead, don't think for a second they won't make somebody's death look like a suicide or an overdose. I mean, you think it hadn't been done before? It's been done more times than even us who research this stuff even probably know about. It happens all the time. And you'd be a fool to think that that's not the case here. Same thing as Michael Jackson or any musician or rock star or whatever else that's died. I mean, it's, that's what they always do. But yeah, whoever wrote those songs is going to stand to reap tens of millions of dollars that they weren't getting when she was alive and being a crackhead, And those people that write those songs and the people that invest all the money and own the record labels, that's their stock. And if their stock is being devalued because some former artist who was once great is now a crackhead or a drug addict or whatever have you, and, it's all out in the media and everybody knows it, and their record sales and whatnot decline because of that, you're an idiot to think that these people don't hire hitmen or, to make it look like an accident or whatever. Oh, it happens all the time, folks. It's happened for years in the music industry. They absolutely did that to Kurt Cobain. Absolutely, they did that to him. His fucking suicide note was in like 3 different handwritings. Come on. How does that happen? Somebody took his credit card and made charges on his credit card days after he'd been dead. He had the coroner said that he had enough heroin in his system to kill 3 men 3 times over. And to kill 1 man 10 times over. And even the coroner said there is no way that he would have believed that Kurt Cobain could have shot himself up with that much heroin and lived long enough to put a shotgun to his head and pull the trigger because of the sheer amount of heroin that he had in his body. Like his veins were just completely full of heroin. So yeah, man. I mean, they made, they banked off his death, banked off of it, man. And that's the whole thing. If people aren't calling it out and realize, because look, I mean, the music industry is run by a bunch of mobster, thugged up monster, thug, mob, Vatican, Guido bastards. Always has been. I mean, going back to the days of Frank Sinatra and back in the days of, the Rat Pack and stuff, Frank Sinatra was running the whole scene. And that guy had extensive ties to the mob and as well was a member of the Knights of Malta. That's why they called him the chairman of the board. So the mob and the music industry and Rome, all that stuff, man. It's been intertwined for years and years and years and still is to this day. And when you see those ritualistic and sacrificial, little things they leave dangling around for you, like they obviously did at the Grammys the other night, it's, that's when you start to see it for what it is. Dreamliner jet draws Boeing logo across North America. Now, this is fascinating because you guys seen this? Apparently, a Boeing 787 jet took a corporate loyalty to new heights when it drew the letter 787, followed by the company logo across several thousand miles of North American skies. The etching of the letters and logo were not visible from the ground, but can be seen from the flight path. Now, I don't think that this was a person that was flying this foil. They're all fly-by-wire anyway. But supposedly that's the flight path that it took. But these planes fly themselves. I mean, once you set the flight path and you take off, the plane flies itself. The only time that a human even messes with the plane is on takeoff and landing. That's it. There is nothing involved in flying those big jumbo jets like that. But people still think that, it's pilots flying them, like a driver or something. It's really not that way. This has to take the cake for, and we haven't had one of these in a while, that's been this ridiculous to receive an award. We used to give out an award weekly and monthly, the most ridiculous news story of the week. But for right now, this has got to be the most ridiculous news story of the week. Osama bin Laden had stoned fantasies about marrying Whitney Houston and murdering Bobby Brown. Oh my good God, you couldn't make this shit up. Oh fuck, who writes this stuff, man? Who the fuck writes this? This stuff is just precious. Like all beautiful, successful women, Whitney Houston had more than her share of male admirers, but few stars could have provoked such unwanted attention as that which the singer received from one of history's most depraved and despicable men, terror chief Osama bin Laden. That guy was, oh, come on. You mean the fucking Oswald puppet they put up there for years after he was on ice and dead? Extraordinary as it might seem, bin Laden is said to have lusted after Houston, dreamed of marrying her, and at one point even plotted to murder husband Bobby Brown. Can you believe that shit? Nobody would ever believe that. That would have blown up in their face. I mean, there are already too many people that don't believe in the fable of 9/11. Can you imagine if they would have got on TV and told everybody that, they hate us not because of our freedoms, but they hate us because of Bobby Brown? That Osama bin Laden had murdered Bobby Brown? Can you believe that? My God. The incredible account of the terrorist's infatuation with Houston comes from Sudanese author Kola Boof, who is widely accepted, lived with him as his mistress. It was 1996. And just a few years later, bin Laden would mastermind the most appalling terrorist attack ever to happen on American soil. Well, this is where it gets good. But holed up in his Moroccan compound, he had different things on his mind, namely sex, smoking cannabis, and dancing to Western pop groups like the B-52s and Van Halen. So obviously the newest music that Osama bin Laden allegedly could get his hands on was made in 1981. And he liked getting high and smoking weed and talking about killing Bobby Brown and while he's dancing around to the B-52s and Van Halen with a bong in his hand. I mean, this is just too funny. According to her account, the strongly racist bin Laden puffed on cannabis before announcing he would be willing to break his color rule and make Houston one of his wives. What? His color rule. He's going to break his color rule. Oh, take a lot. Oh, I don't care. I want to dip my spoon in the pudding. I want to have some chocolate pudding. I want to have some sexual chocolate. Yes. Oh, praise Allah be. Yes. Praise Allah be. Allah. I want to dip my spoon in the pudding. Back that ass up, girl. I want to have it. Jesus Christ. I mean, this is hilarious. I mean, obviously this is a fictional account, but who do they get to write this? Some old scriptwriter from Saturday Night Live? It sounds like something Chevy Chase wrote or something. My God. I mean, this is what passes as reality these days, folks. That's how goddamn idiotic they think we are. They just make up bin Laden stories just for sheer entertainment now and put it in the news and people believe it's real. Oh, man, if this was going to happen anywhere, I tell you what, it would have to happen in fucking Dallas. The Transportation Security Administration is coming under fire for allegedly doing a peep show naked body scans of women who agents think are attractive. Ellen Terrell told CBS 11 News in Dallas that agents at DFW International Airport asked her to go through the invasive scanner 3 times just because they wanted to get a nice, good look. A female agent at the checkpoint surprised Terrell by asking her do you play tennis? And I said, why? She said, well, you just have such a cute figure. Speaking to agents viewing the scans in another room, the female agent claimed the images had been blurry and asked Terrell to go through a second and third time. But after the third scan, the female agent appeared to get frustrated as she radioed her co-workers. She's talking into her microphone. She says, guys, it's not blurry. I'm letting her go. Come on out. So they made her go through these things 3 times just so they could look at her vagina. These guys don't even deserve. These guys need to be just. I'm talking execution style. Line them up, put them on their knees, walk up behind them, pop, and put one behind the ear of each and every one of the people responsible for this. Not a slap on the wrist, not fire them. I'm talking about put them down. Because I'll tell you what, I'm gonna tell you something right now. One of these scumbags did this to somebody in my family, somebody I know, execution style. I don't give a fuck. You do this, I find out you do this to somebody I know, and I'm going to go find out where you live, and I'm going to put a bullet in your brain. How about that? I am just sick and tired of the pussification of America. I'm sick and tired of it. People think that they can just say whatever they want to say to anybody at any time, and then when you don't like being talked to like a piece of shit, and you step up to them and threaten them with an ass whooping, they try to turn it around like you are the aggressor. People do that to me more lately than I've ever seen. I can't even understand this. I had a guy the other day, I was going through, I went to a drive-thru and I was getting something to eat, and I got like a double cheeseburger or something. It was really not anything extravagant. It wasn't, I didn't even get fries or anything. I just got a sandwich, right? Guy, I pay for it, go to the other window, and the guy says, hey man, you gonna eat all that? I'm like, excuse me? He's like, you gonna eat all that? I'm like, well, what business is it of yours? I don't know. I'm just asking. It's a lot of meat. You gonna eat all that? I go, excuse me, motherfucker? What? Because I'm a big guy? You gonna eat all that fucking burger? Fuck you, man. What the fuck business is it of yours if I'm going to eat all that or not? Are you the fucking food Nazis now at Wendy's? He starts saying, I'm coming out there. I'm coming to kick your ass, blah, blah. Oh, you're coming to kick my ass. Come on and get it. The manager's yelling at him, not doing anything. He comes out the door, comes around. I jump out. I'm like, come here, motherfucker. He comes at me. I grab him by the back of his head, swung him around, and started kidney punching this motherfucker, dude, like it was like he was a bag of meat. My fucking, knuckle was hurting afterwards because it was like going into a sweat. I know that dude was pissing blood for the next 2 fucking days. Manager comes out, grabs him, pulls him off of me, and he's like, I'm sorry. And he's like, the manager's totally like, I'm like, dude, you better get this guy out of here or I'm going to kill him. That's just all there is to it. And the manager was like, I'm so sorry, blah, 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 just please don't do anything, just go. I'm like, okay. It's like, I'm not gonna call the cops. He's like, he came after you and you had every right to defend yourself, so if you just don't kill him and let him go, everything's gonna be okay. I'm like, all right, cool, that's fine. But people just think that they can fucking run their mouths to people, or make them go through body scanners or whatever, and go back through there one more time so I can see your vagina. And we've been so pussified that we're not even supposed to say something back to people or be offended or have a problem with it, or we're the bad person. How did we get like that? And it seems that almost everybody in society is like that now. They just think that they can just talk shit and say whatever they want, and that everybody that says something to, they say something to, just puts their head down and doesn't respond and say something back. No, I say something back. You're not just going to fucking make some snide comment to me and think that I'm going to let you get away with it. I'm going to whoop your ass. And if you tell me you're going to come whoop my ass first, when you come at me, you ought to be swinging. You ought to be swinging. That's all I'm saying. If I got time to whip your ass around and put you in a headlock and start kidney jabbing you, dude, obviously you're not much of a fight. I know that dude's pissing blood for 2 days. I know he was. Oh, goddamn. You better get some cranberry juice, motherfucker. Oh, man, that was just too funny. Oh, man, the manager was... the manager probably beat him worse than that. Because the manager, like, had him by the head when he was, like, taking him back in. The manager looked like he was like I didn't even do shit to him. Like, manager's like, I'm about to fuck him up. That's the way the manager looked at him. He said, I'm about to fuck this dude up worse than you could even imagine. He'd take him back there and slap him with a beef patty or some shit. Oh, man. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just where I live. I've noticed it the worst, to be honest with you, and it's not a race thing to me, because there's assholes and idiots and shit talkers of all race, color, and creed and everything else. But just from the demographic of in the area where I live, I notice it the most from who I've seen this. I haven't seen it from white people. I haven't really seen it from black people at all. But I see it a lot from Hispanics. A lot from Hispanics. I don't know what the deal is. They seem to think that they can just say whatever they want to say to anybody at any time and not get called on. And I'm just here to tell you right now, you're not going to talk to me like I'm scum. You're just not going to do it. You can think anything you want of me, but if you have the balls to say something asinine to my face and expect me to just go along and not call you out on it, you got nothing coming. Let's see. What else we got here tonight? Big Bang probe reveals strange microwave haze at the center of the galaxy. A probe designed to delve into the Big Bang that created the cosmos has uncovered an enigmatic fog of microwave radiation at the center of our galaxy, European astronomers reported on Monday. Planck, a $1 billion European space telescope launched in May 2009, formed a mysterious haze of microwaves that presently defies explanation. During a scan of the center of the Milky Way, the European Space Agency said it could be a form of energy called synchrotron emission, which occurs when electrons zip through magnetic fields after being accelerated with a blast of an exploding star or a supernova. Well, I'll tell you my honest opinion, what I think it is. The ancient texts talk, we've talked about this, this is a etheric barrier that supposedly is around the Earth to keep us from ever escaping Earth. Supposedly that's the Van Allen radiation belts. That's how we know that they didn't go to the moon and what they showed us on TV. That's one of the reasons, was absolutely because the spacesuits didn't have any radiation protection in them whatsoever. Nobody could have went through once, much less come back alive. But what I think this very well could be, I've thought about this and seen sort of references to this in ancient texts and stuff, but it does sort of seem that there's, this possibility of there being, of this barrier being much, much more wider spread than just around our planet. And that, galaxies themselves are almost like microcosms. Yes, we can see beyond them into other ones, but it's almost like, once we start going to the edge or the outer rim of ours, like there's an energy barrier there keeping it contained. It's very interesting. I don't know. Let's see what else. Televangelist Pat Robertson joins Obama dictatorship conspiracy. He wrote a book a long time ago called The New World Order. Pat Robertson, he's been a CMP member since the very beginning. He's one of the tip top of the secret right power structure, and his dad, his family lineage goes back. His dad was a high-level Freemason. He's a high-level Freemason. His family are all Freemasons going back, and politicians as well. His dad, I think, was a well-known politician. But, he's been talking about the New World Order and one world government and all that stuff for years and years and years. Much of Alex Jones in the early days, his stuff derived not only from the John Birch Society stuff, but also directly from a lot of the stuff that Pat Robertson was putting out as well. So, to say that he's to somehow now act like Pat Robertson is just now, a right-wing conspiracy theorist is ridiculous. He's always been that way. I don't know why they try to act like this is some new revelation. I guess it's because they're that desperate for news. I don't know. DARPA's magic plan, battlefield illusions to mess with enemy minds. Arthur C. Clarke once famously quipped that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Yeah, he would know. The guy who wouldn't allow any religious iconography whatsoever, symbols whatsoever around his funeral. Yeah. So perhaps it was inevitable that the Pentagon's extreme technology arm would eventually start acting like magicians and try to create illusions on the front lines. In its new budget unveiled on Monday, DARPA introduced a $4 million investigation into technologies that will manage the adversary's sensory perception in order to confuse, delay, inhibit, or misdirect his actions. DARPA calls the project Battlefield Illusion. Project Battlefield Illusion, of course. The current operational art of human sensory battlefield deception is largely an ad hoc practice. The agency sighs as it lays out the project's goals, but if researchers can better understand how humans use their brains to process sensory inputs, the military should be able to develop auditory and visual hallucinations that will provide tactical advantages for our forces. Love how they use the term hallucination in there. What are they talking about? Are they talking about technologies? Or are they talking about nerve gas and stuff? I mean, they've had this technology on the stealth fighter for years where they use the clouds and stuff, and they can project a realistic 3D image of their own plane on a cloud. Enemy comes by, fires at it, and the jet comes up behind the enemy and kills it, shoots it down. So they've had that for quite a while. They just now, they're starting to just now admit they have that. But yeah, we'll see. I heard a cat screaming and smelled awful meat. Neighbors' horror at hearing man skinned cat alive before he grilled and ate it. So I guess that we have finally reached that level in this country. Although, I mean, dude, you couldn't have gone to McDonald's and dug through their dumpster or something. It got that bad. Where you live in California? It's that bad. Come on, I ain't believing that. You know how many goddamn people live in the state of California? There is no excuse why you shouldn't be able to find some dumpster diving treats. No excuse. This guy's just a sicko and enjoyed it. Jason Wilmer, at 36, was arrested for allegedly skinning, killing, and grilling stray cats. He's being held in Kern County Jail on 2 charges, cruelty to animals and the rather uncommonly cited charge of eating an animal commonly kept as a pet or a companion. Neighbors were shocked when they found out that the root of the mysterious smells and noises coming out of Wilmert's one-story home. I heard a cat cry really, really loudly, said one neighbor, and I came outside because I'm an animal lover. The lady right here saw him holding a tail, skinning it alive. Mr. Nuno said that he pieced the situation together when he saw that Wilmert was cooking. He's got a little burner going, and he smelled awful meat. Police began investigating the situation recently, going door to door in the area and asking if anyone's pets had gone missing. So far, they have heard no reports of missing animals, which has led them to believe that he was killing strays. Another neighbor had seen him lighting fires in his backyard, but that never raised any warning flags in the past. Man, that's fucked. Yeah, again, there's just no, I understand that, there's a lot of hungry people out there and homeless people and they have no choice and blah, 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 whatever. If I had no choice and there was no other choice, I still wouldn't cook and skin a cat. That's just me. But, if all life on Earth was wiped out and all there was left was some rando cat outside and I had to eat it, yeah, I guess I would. But that's not where we're at. We throw away more food than you would need to feed every homeless person in the world every day in this world. So, I don't know. I've got no pity for that. But also, I would like to add, I think that guy should be skinned alive and cooked. Maybe if there's any reptiles out there, they can hook this guy up. Boy, this just sounds like all kinds of bad news to me. Number one, that you would actually do this. But number two, that you would tell people about it. And I mean, come on, folks, look at all of the secrecy that we know that they use in the military and they use in government and everything else, and how we're constantly told of, the possibility of Al-Qaeda striking at any time, or Iran striking at any time, or domestic terrorists striking at any time, or white Al-Qaeda striking at any time, or extremists striking at any time, or homeschoolers striking at any time, or anybody who pays for coffee with cash and not a debit card could strike at any time. First, so my question is a two-part question here. Number one is the question is, why would you, number one, transport nuclear warheads, nuclear weapons on trucks all over the fucking United States, like really in this map, pretty much the entire United States? So number one, why would you do that unless it was absolutely fucking necessary? Number two, why would you make it public? And number three, why would you then, after making it public, show a map where all these warheads are going to be driving on? I talked about several years ago that in the future, I really saw a 9/11 style event happening on the United States highway, freeway, interstate system. Because ultimately, they need a 9/11 style event involving transportation that will allow them to lock down America's highways and freeway systems in the same way they've locked down the airports TSA style. And I tell you what, folks, when they do that, and they are more and more taking away our right to travel, when they get to that point where it's checkpoints and you can't go anywhere, man, it's going to be time. That's going to be time to do something. I don't know what, but this just reeks to me. This just reeks of the possibility of a staged event, because they put this information out there. And, how easy would it be for them to dress up some fucking dudes in burqas with AKs and a little Toyota fucking terrorist van and send it hauling ass on one of these 18-wheelers, and they steal a nuke and blow it up, in broad daylight. I don't know. I don't trust this at all. This just reeks. Nuclear truckers, warheads on 18 wheels. Big rigs with bombs are secretly cruising the interstate near you, but how safe are they from terrorists or accidents? Well, I guess not very safe now, motherfuckers. You put the maps out with pictures of it in the goddamn news. It just blows my mind. Well, I hope nobody discovers where these trucks are at to have these nuclear warheads. But in case they need help finding them, in case Al-Qaeda needs help, we'll go ahead and put a map out there with little dots showing everywhere they're going to go. I mean, give me a break. Nobody should be talking about this. Nobody should even know this is happening. It should be a non-event that the public never knows about. So why are they offering up this information? Because they are trying to create something, problem, reaction, solution, trying to create another event. Is that it? My wife leans forward in the passenger seat of our sensible hatchback and points ahead to an 18-wheeler that's hauling ass towards us in a low country stretch of South Carolina's Highway 125. We've been heading west from I-95 towards the Savannah River site, a nuclear facility on the Georgia-South Carolina border, in search of nuke truckers. At first, the mysterious big rig and symbol resembles a commercial gas tanker, but the cab is pristine looking and there's a simple blue on white license plate, U.S. government. It blows by too quickly to determine whether it's part of the little-known U.S. fleet tasked with transporting some of the most sensitive cargo in existence. As you weave through interstate traffic, you're likely to notice another plain-looking Peterbilt tractor-trailer rolling along in the right-hand lane. The government plates, an array of antennas jutting from the cab's roof, would hardly register. You have no idea that inside the cab, an armed federal agent operates a host of electronic countermeasures to keep outsiders from accessing his heavily armored cargo. A nuclear warhead with enough destructive power to level downtown San Francisco. That's the way the Office of Secure Transportation wants it, and at a cost of $250 million a year, Nearly 600 couriers employed by this secretive agency within the U.S. Department of Energy use some of the nation's busiest roads to move America's radioactive material wherever it needs to go. From a variety of labs, reactors, and military bases to the nation's Pantex bomb assembly plant in Amarillo, Texas, to the Savannah River facility, most of the shipments and bombs are weapons components. Some are radioactive metals for research or fuel for Navy ships and submarines. The shipments are on the move about once a week. The OST's operations are an open secret, and much about them can be gleaned from unclassified sources in the public domain. Yet hiding nukes in plain sight and rolling them through major metropolises like Atlanta, Denver, and LA raises a slew of security and environmental concerns. From theft to terrorist attack to radioactive spills, anytime you put nuclear weapons and materials on the highway, you create security risks. But yeah, coming out with this publicly when you could have very well have kept this a secret and kept this in the background, I may have been born yesterday, but I didn't fall off the turnip truck yesterday. So, not buying that. Have you guys seen this? The Faith Coalition? I dropped this in the chat room the other day. For those of you who didn't see it, it's worth it. I'll drop it again. This has got to be the most goddamn, suck Satan's cock, take it all the way down to the balls, CMP, lick Satan's asshole thing I've ever seen. It's this Gingrich Faith Leaders Dream Team. And it's got Gingrich in the middle, Tim LaHaye, Don Wildman, Beverly LaHaye, Matt Staver, George Barna. Tim LaHaye had to bring that old bag wife of his. Oh, sucker of Satan's cock she is. Bring her to the party. Don Wildman, J.C. Watts, Jim Garlow, and holding it down in the background, none other than Mr. Chuck Norris. My God, that is a priest-class CMP suck Satan's cock dream team right there, if I've ever seen one. There they are, boys. My God, old Chuck Norris, yeah, he loves to get that big black scaly worm pecker down his gullet. My God, I don't understand. I've never understood what the fascination is with Chuck Norris. I don't know what it is over the past 5 or 6 years in pop culture. It's just been like this meme to think Chuck Norris is somehow cool. I'm like, you guys realize he's like one of the biggest bootlicking neocons there is, right? Jesus, he's no hero of mine. Fuck that guy. Cocksmoker he is. Ugh. Well, that's all for the news tonight. We're going to take a break, come back, and get into our continued series of reading tonight from Zechariah Sitchin's The End of Days. TheGlobalReality.com is our website. Stay with us. All right, back here with you on the Global Reality, right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us here tonight. For another late night Moonbat edition of the broadcast, we got some reading coming up for you here now tonight from Zechariah Sitchin's The End of Days, our continued series of reading. So, getting into that. So, thanks for being with us. TheGlobalReality.com. It's TheGlobalReality.com. That's my website. GlobalRealityShow@gmail.com is my email address. And support our work if you can. Chipping banners there. Got to pay the stream bill tomorrow. It's going to get cut off, so we got to have some support in here this week, folks. We hadn't got any so far this week, and it's Wednesday. And we didn't get very much last week, and we didn't get very much the week before that, and it's been god-awful lately, so we really need some support right now. So please help us out if you can. TheGlobalReality.com. Use the chipping banner, the donate button. We also have a P.O. Box address if you absolutely can't use PayPal. The text suggests that Balaam, or Baal, as we talked about last time, an offshoot of Baal, was an Armenian residing somewhere up the Euphrates River. His prophetic oracles expanded from the fate of the children of Jacob to the place of Israel among the nations to oracles regarding the future of such other nations, even of distant and yet to come imperial Assyria. The oracles were thus an expression of the wider non-Israelite expectations of the time. By including the tale, the Bible combined the Israelite destiny with the mankind's universal expectations. Those expectations, the Balaam tale indicates, were channeled along two paths. The zodiacal cycle on the one hand, and the returning stars course on the other hand, or Marduk as we've established. The zodiacal references are strongest regarding the age of the ram and its god, Marduk, at the time of the Exodus, and became oracular and prophetic as the seer Balaam envisions the future. Well, the zodiacal constellation symbols of the bull and the ram, bullocks and rams for sevenfold sacrifices, and the lion, when the royal trumpet shall be heard in Israel, are invoked in Numbers chapter 23, and it is when envisioning that distant future that the Balaam text employs the significant term "at the end of days" as the time at which the prophetic oracles apply. This term directly links these non-Israelite prophecies to the destiny of Jacob's offspring, because it was used by Jacob himself as he lay on his deathbed and gathered his children to hear oracles regarding their future. Genesis chapter 49, come gather together, he said, that I may tell you that which shall befall you at the end of days. The oracles individually stated for each one of the 12 future tribes of Israel are deemed by many to be related to the 12 zodiacal constellations. And what about the Star of Jacob, an explicit vision by Balaam? In scholarly biblical discussions, it is usually considered in an astrological rather than an astronomical context at best. And more often than not, the tendency has been to deem the reference to Jacob's star as purely figurative. But what if the reference was indeed to a star orbiting on its course, a planet prophetically seen that it is not yet visible? What if Balaam, like Akhenaten, was speaking of the return or the reappearance of Nibiru? Such a return, it must be realized, would be an extraordinary event that occurs once in several millennia, an event that had repeatedly signified the most profound watersheds in the affairs of gods and men. This is not just a rhetorical question. In fact, the unfolding events were increasingly indicating that an overwhelming significant occurrence was in the offing. Within a century or so of the preoccupations and predictions regarding the returning planet that we find in the tales of the Exodus, Balaam, and Akhenaten's Egypt, Babylon itself started to provide evidence of such widespreading expectations, and the most prominent clue was the sign of the cross. In Babylon, the time was that of the Kassite dynasty, which we have written of earlier. Little has remained of their reign in Babylon itself, and as stated earlier, those kings did not excel in keeping royal records, but they did leave behind telltale depictions and international correspondence of letters on clay tablets. It was in the ruins of Akhet Aten, Akhenaten's capital, a site now known as Tel El Amarna in Egypt, that the famed El Amara tablets were discovered. Of the 380 clay tablets, all except 3 were inscribed in the Akkadian language, which was then the language of international diplomacy. While some of the tablets represented copies of royal letters sent from the Egyptian court, the bulk were original letters received from foreign kings. The cache was the royal diplomatic archive of Akhenaten, and the tablets were predominantly correspondence he had received from the kings of Babylon. Did Akhenaten use those exchanges of letters with his counterparts in Babylon to tell them of his newfound Aten religion? We really don't know, for all we have are a Babylonian king's letters to Akhenaten in which he complained that gold sent to him was found short in weight, and that his ambassadors were robbed on the way to Egypt, or that the Egyptian king failed to inquire about his health. Yet the frequent exchanges of ambassadors and other emissaries, even offers of intermarriage, as well as the calling of the Egyptian king my brother by the Babylonian king, must lead to a conclusion that the hierarchy in Babylon was fully aware of the religious goings-on in Egypt. And if Babylon wondered, what is this Ra as a returning star commotion, Babylon must have realized that it was a reference to Marduk as a returning star to Nibiru orbiting back. With the tradition of celestial observations to much older and more advanced Mesopotamia than in Egypt, it is of course possible that the royal astronomers of Babylon had come to conclusions regarding Nibiru's return without Egyptian aid, and even ahead of the Egyptians. Be that as it may, it was in the 13th century BCE that the Kassite kings of Babylon started to signal in a variety of ways their own fundamental religious changes. In 1260 BCE, a new king ascended the throne in Babylon and adopted the name Kardashum-Enlil, a theophoric name surprisingly venerating Enlil. It was no passing gesture, for he was followed on the throne for the next century by Kassite kings bearing theophoric names venerating not only Enlil, but also a dad, and a surprising gesture, suggesting a desire for divine reconciliation. That something unusual was expected was further evidence on commemorative monuments called kuduru, rounded stones that were set up as boundary markers, inscribed with a text stating the terms of the border treaty or land grant and the oaths taken to uphold it. The kuduru was sanctified by symbols of the celestial gods. The divine zodiacal symbols, all 12 of them, were frequently depicted. Orbiting above them were emblems of the sun, the moon, and Nibiru. In another depiction, Nibiru was shown in the company of Earth, the seventh planet, and the moon, and the umbilical cutter symbol for Ninmah. Significantly, Nibiru was depicted no longer by the winged disc symbol, but rather in a new way as the planet of the radiating cross, befitting its inscription by the Sumerians in the olden days as a radiating planet about to become the planet of the crossing. This way of showing the long unobserved Nibiru by a symbol of a radiating cross began to become more common, and soon the Kassite kings of Babylon simplified the symbol to just a sign of the cross, replacing it with the winged disc symbol on their royal seals. This cross symbol, which looks like the much later Christian Maltese cross, is known in studies of the ancient glyptic as a Kassite cross. That's very important to understand the origins of the Maltese cross, and when you see that being used, what it's going back to, these Kassite kings that were, using the name of Enlil. These were demigods. These were the ones that were in charge of that. These are the very people the Knights of Malta and the rest of this stuff go back to this day. Folks, that's the origins of the priest class right there. As another depiction indicates, the symbol of the cross was for a planet, clearly not the same as the sun, which is separately shown along the same moon crescent and the six-pointed star symbol for Mars. As the first millennia BCE began, Nibiru's sign of the cross spread from Babylonia to seal designs in nearby lands. In the absence of Kassite religious or literary texts, it is a matter of conjecture what messianic expectations might have accompanied these changes in depictions. Whatever they were, they intensified the ferocity of the attacks by the Enlilite states, Assyria, Elam on Babylon, and their opposition to Marduk's hegemony. Those attacks delayed but did not prevent the eventual adoption of the sign of the cross in Assyria itself. As royal monuments reveal, it was worn most conspicuously by Assyrian kings on their chests near their hearts, the way devout Catholics wear the cross nowadays. Religiously and astronomically, it was a most significant gesture. That it was also a widespread manifestation is suggested by the fact that in Egypt, too, depictions were found of a king god wearing, like his Assyrian counterparts, the sign of the cross on his chest. The adoption of the sign of the cross as the emblem of Nibiru in Babylon, Assyria, and elsewhere was not a surprising innovation. The sign had been used before by the Sumerians and Akkadians. Nibiru, let crossing be its name, the epic of creation stated, and accordingly its symbol, the cross, had been employed in Sumerian glyptic to denote Nibiru, but then it always signified its return into visibility. The Enuma Elish, the epic of creation, clearly stated that after the celestial battle with Tiamat, the invader made a grand orbit around the sun and returned to the scene of the battle. Since Tiamat orbited the sun in a plane called the ecliptic, as other members of our sun's planetary family do, it is to that place in the heavens that the invader had to return. And when it does so, orbit after orbit after orbit, it is there that it crosses the plane of the ecliptic. A simple way to illustrate this would be to show the orbital path of the well-known Halley's Comet, which emulates on a greatly reduced scale the orbit of Nibiru. Its inclined orbit brings it as near to the sun from the south from the below the ecliptic near Uranus. It arches above the ecliptic and makes the turn around the sun, saying hello to Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars. And then it comes down and crosses the ecliptic near the site of Nibiru's celestial battle with Tiamat. The crossing marked X and is gone, only to come back as its orbital destiny prescribes. That point in the heavens and in time is called the crossing. It is then, the Enuma Elish stated, that the planet of the Anunnaki becomes the planet of the cross. Sumerian texts dealing with landmark events in mankind's saga provide specific indications regarding the periodic appearance of the planet of the Anunnaki, approximately every 3,600 years, and always at crucial junctions in Earth's and mankind's history. It was at such times that the planet was called Nibiru, and its elliptical depictions, even in early Sumerian times, were the cross. That record began with the deluge. Several texts dealing with the deluge associated the watershed catastrophe with the appearance of the celestial god Nibiru in the age of the lion, circa 10,900 BCE. It was the constellation of the lion that measured the waters of the deep. One text described the appearance of Nibiru at deluge time as a radiating star and depicted it accordingly. When they shall call out flooding, it is the god Nibiru, Lord whose shining crown with terror is laden. Daily within the lion he is a fire. The planet returned, reappeared, and again became Nibiru when mankind was granted farming and husbandry. In the mid-8th millennium BCE, depictions on cylinder seals illustrating the beginning of agriculture used the sign of the cross to show Nibiru visible in Earth's skies. Finally, and most memorably for the Sumerians, the planet was visible once again when Anu and Antu came to Earth on a state visit circa 4000 BCE in the Age of the Bull. The city that was later known for a millennia as Uruk was established in their honor. A ziggurat was erected, and from its stages the appearance of the planets on the horizon as the night sky darkened was observed. When Nibiru came into view, a shout went up. The Creator's image has arisen, and all present broke into hymnal songs of praise for the planet of the Lord of Anu. Nibiru's appearance at the start of the Age of the Bull meant that at the time of heliacal rising, when dawn begins but the horizon is still dark enough to see the stars, the constellation in the background was that of Taurus. But the fast-moving Nibiru, arching in the skies as it circled the sun, soon descended back to cut across the planetary plane, the ecliptic, to the point of the crossing. There, the crossing was observed against the background of the constellation of the Lion. Several depictions on cylinder seals and in astronomical tablets used the cross symbol to indicate Nibiru's arrival when Earth was in the Age of the Bull, and its crossing was observed in the constellation of the Lion. The change from the winged disc symbol to the sign of the cross thus was not an innovation. It was a reverting to the way in which the celestial Lord had been depicted in earlier times, but only when in its great orbit it crossed the ecliptic and became Nibiru. As in the past, the renewed display of the sign of the cross signified reappearance, coming back into view, and return. That is the end of chapter 10. Chapter 11 is where we'll pick up next time, the day of the Lord. Oh, good Lord. Yes, the day of the Lord. Chapter 11, that's where we pick up next time. More and more interesting stuff. I liked how they got into the stuff. Yeah, I mean, that's going back to the Hittites and, that sign of the cross and, that first incarnation of the Maltese cross being used by, direct descendants of Enlil. To me, it's like, boy, that's everything you need to know about why Alex Jones or any of these guys will tell you not to look into this information. It all makes sense to me now. I mean, I'm trying to get other people to see it as well, and a lot of people are, but it's just crystal clear to me now. Anyway, that's all the time we have tonight. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. Please donate and support our work if you can, folks, because we are really low right now and need some help. Thank you so much. My name's Josh Reeves. I love each and every one of you. We'll see you tomorrow for the broadcast. You guys have a great one. Take care.